Okay, I see there are some viewers now. So welcome to the Class 30 question and answer webinar. Ooh, 6 viewers. If you want to ask any questions, you can do so with the chat, which should be on the right-hand side of your the YouTube screen, and I just typed something in there right now. Great. So before we get started with questions, I did want to re-announce that my last day at Atlas Core is actually coming up this Friday. So it's been a real pleasure getting to know all of you guys and helping you through the process so far. And you'll actually be in the hands of Shay Adair, who is actually a former intern who's worked with us before, who has done a lot of, is really familiar with Atlas Core and these processes. So I'll be introducing you to her probably today or tomorrow, and she'll be your main point of contact starting next week and going through orientation. So her email will actually be programassistant@atlascore.org, and I'll be sure to brief her on all the different statuses and where each of you are in the process. So just be on the lookout for that email pretty soon. And I'll probably be at some of the May events since I'll still be working in DC, so might not be emailing you anymore, but I'll probably get to meet you in person, which is exciting. Great. So does anyone have any general questions so far from the general pre-arrival webinar or the housing webinar? And you can just type them. Okay, so Asim is asking about housing and where we can stay in DC. So in the housing webinar, I went over how to search on Craigslist, which is one of the main sites that Americans use to find housing. And there are links to different Facebook groups that can help. I also sent out yesterday a housing survey to those that will be serving in DC. I think as I went over in the webinar, Atlas Core has the primary lease on 6 different houses or apartments in DC, and we have a few rooms opening up in May when you guys are arriving. So unfortunately there are 8 DC fellows and I think only 4 rooms opening up. So not everyone will be able to get a room there, but please do fill out that survey and we'll try to match you based off of your preferences and some other considerations. If you unfortunately don't get a spot in Atlas Core housing, basically you can be guaranteed a spot in the hostel that Atlas Core books from when you arrive through Global Leadership Lab, which ends on May 24th. Or if you want to try to find an Airbnb or your own accommodations, if you happen to have friends in the area, you can get $30, opt out of the hostel and get $30 a night to help cover those temporary accommodations. But in terms of more permanent accommodations, if you're not in Atlas Core housing, we have found that it can be a lot easier to secure housing when you're actually in the city. So I would try to focus on at least making sure that you have temporary housing when you get here, and then during orientation or during some evenings, you can go actually go to different houses and meet people and look at the places. But of course, you can always loop me into any postings you're finding, and you can definitely start the process now and look, but it's probably will be easier to find permanent accommodations once you're actually here. So Zafar is asking about transportation, how much it costs, and how it's calculated. So I would say a good way to look at that is most of you will be using, almost all of you will be using public transportation, so either the DC Metro or the New York Metro or the Chicago Metro. If you go to their website, there should be something called a trip planner or a similar tool where you can put in the address of your office and any addresses of places that you're looking at, and it should be able to give you an amount of what that would be. It will give you the route and the amount, although that can sometimes vary based off of the time of day. So there could be peak amounts during rush hour times, before work and right after work, but that can give you a general sense. Okay. Any other questions? So Asim is asking about the expected start date in May. So orientation does start on May 14th. So once visas are approved, we will send your information to our travel agent, who can send over some itineraries for either May 12th or 13th, so you arrive that weekend. So then orientation is just with your class is from May 14th through 17th or 18th. And then the Global Leadership Lab, which is a training with all fellows, current fellows in the program, themed around a different aspect of personal and professional development. That will be from May 20th, or May 21st and 24th. So far as asking about the visa process, so far your situation is a little different since you are sponsored by the U.S. Embassy in Pakistan. And unfortunately, we don't have control over sending the DS 2019 since they're trying to get it from the embassy. We can try to reach back out to our contacts there and try to see why they haven't been able to send it yet. But I don't think you should worry too much since you are sponsored by the embassy. I think hopefully things will go well, but I know that it can be a little nerve-wracking waiting, but we can reach back out to our contacts there to try to see what's going on. Oh, that's sweet. So Asim saying how many team members are now at the Atlas Core office because he's thinking to buy souvenirs. That's very nice. You don't have to do that. There are, let's see, I think there's 13, 14 of us full-time. But again, you don't need to get us anything, but that's really sweet of you. Okay, so far saying that he's good to go and asked lots of questions on email, and is good to go. So yeah, of course, you can email me any questions you have after this. If you want to relook over any materials, I'll be answering emails all the way through Friday. And then Shay will be well equipped to answer any of your questions in the lead up to your arrival. So Seema is asking if we can send an email to the host now to thank you and just ask for pre-planning for assignment. Yes, that's totally fine to be in touch with your host organization. And you can definitely email them to thank them and ask about any logistics for starting. So Zafar is asking when my replacement is joining. So we are in the process of, well, Shay will be training her up on a lot of my roles now, and then we hope to hire a full-time person, hopefully sometime in May or so, or June. So Ha is asking when we'll be introduced to our local ambassadors. So my colleague Zachary will be making those matches, and he should be in touch likely um, maybe a week and a half or so from your arrival, hopefully a bit earlier than that. I would say between 1 and 2 weeks before you arrive. Thank you so far. Um, and so Zafar was saying that you have great understanding with us and aware of all the issues, and just rest assured that I'll make sure to brief Shay on uh, any individual concerns that you guys have had throughout the process or your statuses. So you'll definitely be in great hands with her. So the weather in DC to plan for clothing. So the weather has been a little weird recently. We'll be arriving in the springtime, but it's been kind of on and off cold. I would basically pack for, well, so one thing is that we will give you on your first house stipend a $50, a one-time $50 allowance to buy a winter jacket. So you don't have to, pack a huge winter jacket. And maybe some of you don't even have them given the climate of your home countries. So in the winter, it will get pretty cold. I think we're just, so we do provide that allowance to get the winter jacket. Hopefully it'll start warming up soon for spring, and springtime in DC is really pretty. There's cherry tree blossoms near the National Mall. So I would say DC does have, it's not like some places that are hot or cold all the time. It does have distinct seasons usually. So I would just pack accordingly. And of course, I try to pack some formal wear for serving at your host organization. It may be that their dress code doesn't actually require formal wear, but you will need to dress formally for some events during the first 2 weeks during orientation and Global Leadership Lab. So I was asking how many of us total are joining Class 30. So there are 11 of you. And I think in an email that I'll send soon, I think I've BCC'd you on emails to not kind of flood everyone's inboxes with reply alls, but I can connect you all together soon. So Seem is asking when we'll start with the host organization. So it will be after the Global Leadership Lab. Basically, it should be that Monday. Monday, let me just check. Monday, May 28th. So for our satellite fellows, you all will actually will be booking your travel from DC to your city likely on Friday the 25th, and then you'll be starting on the 28th, and most DC fellows will be starting the 28th unless your host organization has made a different arrangement. But we basically tell them all that your first day will be the 28th, a Monday after Global Leadership Lab ends. Okay, any other questions? Um, I do want to just go over some important reminders then. So please make sure that you do send your biography and picture by tomorrow or the end of this week. I'm trying to get a lot of that in place for Shay before I go, and a lot of you have sent it in, but just a reminder. Sorry, we are getting some more questions. So Ha's asking how we are supposed to get to our city from DC. So like I said, uh, we will book that travel probably during orientation, the travel for you from DC to your host city. And then Asim was asking about the time schedule during Ramadan. So I also, I believe I shared with you all a survey to fill out for if you celebrate Ramadan. We are making some arrangements for that during the Global Leadership Lab. So most important action right now is to fill that out, and then we'll be sharing some more detailed plans before you get here. So far, I will definitely follow up again with the embassy. Great. So aside from the biographies and pictures, just some important things to keep in mind also in terms of arrival are, of course, don't forget your passport or DS 2019. You will need to bring your DS 2019 as well as 2 forms of ID on during orientation for bank setup. So that your passport counts as one form, and then like a driver's license or a credit card from back home or something like that. And just obviously make sure to bring your DS 2018 to airport, or else you won't be able to get on your flight or get here. But to bring it during orientation as well. And I think I mentioned this in a previous email, but in terms of the participation fee of $500, so you either said that you would pay it in cash during orientation, or that you would take it out of your first full stipend, which would be your June stipend. But I just want to emphasize that you should bring $500 regardless of which option you chose, because taking that amount of money out of the stipend is a good chunk. So just bringing $500 regardless can help compensate for that if that is the option that you chose. So for the first weekend after our arrival, will there be any plans from Atlas Corps for us to join, or are we free to plan things on our own? So I think there might be some events, since a lot of our fellows do come in that weekend off, basically the weekend of the so I guess the 20th and 20th, or the 18th and 19th. A lot of fellows will be in town for the Global Leadership Lab the next week. So there may be some informal events, but we'll let you know if there are any formal events during that weekend. I will say during the weekend that you first arrive, right before orientation, if you get there Saturday or Sunday, it could be a good time to go look into phones, although we will have time during orientation for that too. There's nothing formal planned that first weekend before orientation starts. So is there any WhatsApp group created by previous classes? So I think people usually create WhatsApp groups once they get here, but I have been adding, I think I've added you to, I'll double check about adding you to the fellow-wide Facebook group. I would say that could be the best venue or to ask questions to kind of the fellow community. I know I've added you to the Class 30 Facebook group, but I will double check. I think I've added some of you to the fellow group, but I'll double check that today. You should get a notification once you've been added to that. So are there any other questions? Okay, so Asim is asking about the insurance. Is there any important points we need to consider? Yes, so there will be an entire presentation during orientation that kind of dives deeper into the insurance, but I would say the main things to know in advance of your arrival are that it does not cover pre-existing conditions. So basically anything that can be linked, anything that you've had before you've arrived. It does cover like, common colds or things that come up, but if something can be linked to maybe a condition that you've had before fellowship, it actually doesn't cover that. So we especially recommend that you bring any prescription medications and try to get a year-long supply, since they can be a little different or potentially more expensive in the US. And then other important points are that it does not cover routine vision or dental care. So we ask that you get a checkup at your dentist and at your eye care provider, vision ophthalmologist if you before you arrive if you need anything with that. Also, on that note, to bring a extra pair of glasses if you wear them and extra contacts. So Zafar is asking, would you add us in some greater group of previous fellows? So like I said, I will be adding you to the Facebook group that has alumni and fellows, and that's a good place to ask questions about experiences of fellows. So Asim's asking about annual leave. So basically all hosts in your contract, they agree to, they must give you 10 personal days and 10 sick days over the course of your 12-month fellowship. So that's the minimum that is required by the contract. It is possible that different organizations might have more flexible policies, and it's really a conversation to have with your supervisor to see if they have any special leave policies, or if they're willing to give you more days beyond the basically 20 that are they're required to give by the given the host contract. Great. So any other questions? I'll probably wrap up in a couple of minutes, and then I'll be sure to send out this recording via Gmail today. Okay, well, I think I am just gonna to wrap it up. So, of course, like I said, you can email me any questions you have. I'll be super responsive through Friday. I'll be sure to introduce you to Shay, who will be your main point of contact next week and going forward. And just, please be in touch with any and all questions or concerns that you may have. I will say the next thing to keep in mind is once your visa is approved, if you can send us a copy, and after that, once the visa is approved, we will send, like I said, send the information to our travel agent and be in touch about flights. So that's probably the next step in the process to think about. We'll be sending you some more reminder emails before you get here about that and some other things. So for now, big focus, of course, is scheduling your visa appointment. Again, for our Pakistani fellows, I'll follow up with the embassy and then flights and then basically getting here. So just let me know what questions you have. Again, it's been a pleasure helping guide you through this process so far, and I'll definitely be in touch over Facebook or even my personal email, which I'll be sure to share with you all, but especially over Facebook. I know a lot of us are friends there. So I'll still be around. I hope to see you guys in May and meet you. And just looking forward to seeing what you guys accomplish. So thank you again so much, and just, of course, be in touch with any questions. Okay, bye. Have a great rest of your day.